What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I want to talk to you guys about a video that I just watched with Dillian Whyte. Okay, and I'm gonna lay out some components of this, but let me talk about what Dillian Whyte had to say. They asked Dillian Whyte about his opponent, why Derek Chisora, why this rematch instead of Luis Ortiz or Dominic Brazil. And he basically, this is what he said. He said, these guys, they talk about it, but they're not really about it. You know what I mean? They asked for too much money when I wanted to fight Luis Ortiz. I wanted to fight him years ago. He didn't want to fight. Now he's desperate after coming off the loss of Wilder. And we offered him a deal. He didn't take it. He wanted crazy money, okay. And that's what Dillian Whyte said. And, he said that's what happens when a fighter gets desperate, okay. And after a loss, okay, that's what Dillian Whyte said. Now, another interview, boom, Eddie Hearn. No one really wants to see Luis Ortiz. I would like to see it as a diehard fan, but casual fans would rather see the Chisora fight because it'll do more numbers, right? He also said, hey, I don't make these fights. I just kind of recommend them, and the fighters really make these fights. I'm not that guy that's sitting on high and saying, hey, I want this fight to be made. I'm not Dana White. Okay, he made that statement. Of course, we know Anthony Joshua will be attending the Derek Chisora White rematch, because that's a possible opponent. All right, we already got through that. Okay. You line all this up. You look at all this. What do all these fights have in common? Derek Chisora, Luis Ortiz out. Wilder, you better step up or you're going to be frozen or you're going to miss out again. Wilder's a different story. I think, I have my own, opinions about Wilder, but Wilder's an American fighter. Luis Ortiz is a Cuban-American fighter. Dominic Brazil is another American fighter. Who's left? Whyte, Chisora, and Joshua, right? All those fighters, what do they have in common? They're all British fighters. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, that's too convenient. You know what I mean? It's too convenient for you to only not, for you to ignore fights like that. It's just too convenient to me. Like I see what's happening, and let's break it down. Okay. Dillian Whyte said that's what happens when fighters get desperate. Well, if you're desperate, you're not trying to avoid a fight. Or you can't say Luis Ortiz didn't want to fight you. Eddie Hearn in his interview said, well, they sent we didn't hear a peep out of Jay Jimenez. And, we didn't hear them going out for the fight. When we clearly showed anybody that read the article or video or multiple videos was done about Luis Ortiz, he simply told Dillian Whyte, send the contract. I'll fight you on December 22nd. You know what I mean? So the question would be, it's not what you didn't hear from. You've already heard that particular fighter tell you to send him a contract. Now, let's take, for example, Deontay Wilder. If Deontay Wilder said, hey, send me the contract, and then I didn't sign it like he didn't, that's a whole different story. They never sent Luis Ortiz a contract at all. They just they put the blame on Luis Ortiz's team. Oh, we didn't hear anything for them wanting to fight at all. Well, you heard him through social media. Hey, man, this social media is just as complete as anything else. That's how a lot of fights get made, through social media. You know what I'm saying? Like, in reality, yes, contracts have to be signed. I get that. But if there's no contract to be sent over, how is he going to sign something that doesn't exist or he never received? Okay? Like he said, send me the contract and I'll fight you. And he waited. And no one said anything. So it's not Luis and Jimenez's, it's not their business, right? And it's not their job to wait for you or to call you to tell them to send the contract when you already know they want you to send the contract. You see what I'm saying? So that desperate, like what he said, oh, they get desperate. I'm like, maybe that desperate word you put in or you implemented into that interview meant that he told you to send him a contract and you didn't want to send him one. That's the only thing I could really take from that. When a fighter gets desperate, now they want to fight. But I'm like, okay, if he's desperate, that means he wants that fight. That means, so why didn't you give him that fight, especially after Derek Chisora did the same thing? Derek Chisora asked for so much. He asked for crazy money too. You got to put that into this factor. It wasn't like Derek Chisora just said, hey, I'll fight you for peanuts at first. This wasn't the first negotiation. It fell through and they were looking for another opponent. Why didn't you pick Ortiz then? If you knew that wasn't. So all the numbers and all the crunching that Eddie Hearn does at doing his job, and I'm quite sure he's good at his job, right? But that didn't mean anything anymore, simply because he asked for too much money that went against the grain, right? So why didn't you pick Ortiz or Dominic Brazil then? You know what I'm saying? Like, that didn't make sense to me. And if you look at the time frame, this has all been in the last few weeks. So for about a week, Dillian Whyte did not have an opponent. The fight was just announced yesterday. Okay. So, he didn't have an opponent. Then, we don't have an opponent. Then all of a sudden we got an opponent now. But what happened at that time? And this is the strange thing. Ortiz signed a 3-fight deal with DAZN. So, that's where the fight's going to be. So, I mean, like, okay, well, if you sign back with Matchroom and you sign with your management and you guys get together, and then around that time, they still didn't have a fighter. He told you to sign the contract. No contract was sent. What does that look like to you guys? You know what I mean? Then you have Anthony Joshua saying, well, yeah, I'll be attending that fight. Why don't you attend the Fury White fight, those Fury Wilder fight also? One's on the 1st, the other one's on the 22nd. Dude, you got 21 days to get from one place to the next place. He could attend both fights. Because if Wilder is that number one guy that you're looking for, all right, that's your guy, I know it's more convenient you going to England and checking it out and, seeing your countrymen fight. I get that. But that ain't till the 22nd. That's not your first priority. So it's like, to me, it's like everything has been meant to put in-house. You know what I mean? This is like some in-house tactics by Eddie Hearn, because he's looking at it like, hey, I got all the fighters, all the heavyweight fighters that I need. If Fury beats Wilder, all the heavyweight division will totally be in the UK. So it would have went from the Ukraine, one belt in America, to the UK. Now it's all in the UK between two fighters, which would be a massive fight. But, you look at it, I don't like how certain fighters are getting froze out, I feel. I feel that Luis Ortiz, despite him losing to Deontay Wilder, is still being avoided. Him being desperate, that means he wants a fight, not that he doesn't want to fight. Okay. And my thing is, one point I want to make, since we're talking about Joshua, why does Chisora Whyte have to be the fight that he wants to choose? You know what I mean? To ask yourself, is that really what you want to choose? Because Joshua did mention, hey, dig up the old man. I'll fight the old man, Ortiz. Dig him up. I'll fight him. And then by that time he said that after Povetkin win, right? And if he fights Ortiz and beats Ortiz, he gets full credit for that. You know what I mean? But like, everyone talks that. Like Dillian Whyte said, everyone wants to talk about it, but don't want to be about it. And it seems like everyone says something, and then when Ortiz speaks, no one says anything back. You hear nothing. You hear crickets. Crickets, right? Why can't Luis Ortiz be that guy that he fights on April 13th? Since he doesn't have an opponent, why does it have to be out of that? It's just convenient for British fighters. You see what I'm saying? You got Chisora, Whyte, Joshua. You know, everyone else is supposed to be shooting themselves out or asking for too much money, or they quote unquote don't want to fight. I don't buy it, man. I just really don't buy it because, it's just too convenient for everybody, And I think Eddie should stop protecting his fighters. I think Eddie needs to promote DAZN to the Americas. It's been in the UK, right? He needs to promote and stop hiding his fighters and get them to fight the best fights. And I'm not saying that Chisora Whyte won't be a good fight. It might be a classic fight, but it's already a classic fight that we've already saw. You know what I mean? So I don't understand why this is necessary to happen again. And I'm curious to know, I don't want to just over talk myself before knowing, but, we know that Joshua is more than likely going to fight the winner out of Chisora and Whyte. Like, who wants to see that? You know what I mean? And facts are facts. Joshua can fight a cab driver and still sell Wembley out 80,000, 90,000 people. So Eddie Hearn's explanation of, hey, well, no one knows who Luis Ortiz is. It don't really matter. He's still going to sell. Anthony Joshua's a gold Olympic champion. He's a gold Olympic winner. He's Olympian. He has 4 belts. People love him. He's an icon in the UK. He's huge over there. You think they're not going to see the guy that gave Wilder hell for 10 rounds? Damn near stopped him. Probably the fight should have probably been stopped, honestly. You know what I'm saying? Because they gave this guy too many concessions, right? Wilder was protected, For what reason, I don't know. But Luis Ortiz can't get a fair shot. No one really wants to fight Luis Ortiz. And I feel that Joshua should fight Ortiz on April 13th. Then after that, when you beat him, that would be the last puzzle piece for Anthony Joshua, because then no one can say that you didn't fight Luis Ortiz when you had the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, you guys tell me what you think about this particular video. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been counterpunched. Peace.